What's up, YouTube? This is Elder Stacy Zanders coming to you with another video. Before we get to the video, let me just say, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Hit the like button and that notification bell so you get updated on whenever we release new content. But I'm going to do a reaction video. I'm sure you all heard of the Alabama pastor, Pastor Jennings, who was arrested while watering his neighbor flowers. And I'm going to pause it here and there and make my comments as the video goes on. But maybe I'm not coming at this from the standpoint of because he was black, watering flowers while black. And we understand all of the cliche terms, driving while black, Airbnb while black, just these different things that happen around the nation. I kind of want to look at this from a different perspective and kind of look at his mannerism and his behavior, the police's behavior, the neighbor's behavior that called the police, and just kind of look into it a little more from a more of a positive standpoint to see possibly what could have been done different. And was there any rules or laws that were violated when the police came on the scene? But let's just get into the video and let's just go from there.
I ain't did nothing suspicious or nothing wrong. Told him I'm a pastor. I pastor to all of these. You want to lock me up? Lock me up.
This newly released police.
Okay, let's stop right there. Apparently, the police officers came, probably asked them. Now, notice, I just want to say this. Someone calls 911, call the police. Someone obviously reports that there is somebody suspicious watering some flowers. I'm not quite sure what the phone call was. But the police responds. Their job is to find out what happened, what's going on, what take place. Obviously, when they pulled up, you can see in the video, he's obviously watering the flowers. So, but since they was called out, if I'm a police officer, I am going to ask, we received the phone call about somebody suspicious, yada, yada, yada. And maybe ask them, what are you doing? We see you watering flowers. Do you live here? And me as an officer, he said, no, my neighbor's out of town. They asked me to water their flowers. I see he's watering flowers. Me just looking at it from that standpoint, I probably would have went on ahead and left. Because I see what I see, I don't see nothing suspicious. I probably would have moved on. So let's continue.
The body camera video shows the arrest of an Alabama pastor who was watering his neighbor's plants.
Do what you got to do, girl. I'm not here.
This past spring, Pastor Michael Jennings was doing a favor for a neighbor who'd asked him to water their plants while they were out of town. But police arrived and started questioning him.
This vehicle is not supposed to be here. You're not supposed to be here.
I'm Pastor Jennings. I live across the street.
You're Pastor Jennings?
Yes, I'm looking out for their house while they go.
Okay,
While they fly.
okay. Well, that's cool. Do you have like ID and
No,
everything?
no.
Okay, then that brings up another point. Now he tells the police officer who he is. I'm watering their flowers while they're gone. The police say, okay, you watering the flowers while they're gone. Then he asks him for ID. Now, the issue here is, was the pastor in the right to refuse to show his ID? Did the police officer have the right to ask for his identification? Surely, you don't see any crime being committed. Now, for example, I understand if a robbery may have just took place in a convenience store, and the robber ran out the door and left. By the time the police get there, they may have just missed the robber, but they stopped the 4 individuals in the store or coming out the store and detain them until they can find out what took place, what happened. I can understand them detaining me if I'm in that situation so they can watch the camera, the video footage, or whatever they need to do, and then release me at that point because a crime had just been committed. I don't see where a crime here was committed. I don't see a reason why he have to show his identification. Now, unless it is the law in Alabama, if a police stop you, you're required by law to show your identification, then maybe he should have done that if he had his ID on him, because he lived across the street, may not have had his identification on him. But another thing I want to point out here, I don't see aggression from the police officer. I do get a sense that there's some aggression or hostility coming from Pastor Jennings. Maybe he's just upset because they pulled him over, stopped him, questioned him. I'm not sure. But at this point, I am not seeing aggression from the police officers. So I kind of think they're okay at this particular junction here. So let's just continue.
I don't give you no ID.
Why not?
I ain't did nothing wrong.
And if you're not one to identify yourself,
Who calls y'all?
that's what we got to figure out.
I ain't did nothing suspicious or nothing wrong. Told him I'm a pastor. I pastor to our needs.
Sir,
You wanna lock me up? Lock me up.
we're just trying to talk to you, man. Come here. Look, man, let me see your phone. Let me see your phone. Just calm down.
No,
man.
no.
Stop.
Do what you got to do. Don't
Okay.
lock me up. I told you I'm a pastor.
Okay, look, man.
Who called y'all? You have to identify yourself.
All I did said, hey, man, do you live here? No. Is that your car? No.
The pastor was eventually put in the back of a squad car. A woman soon arrives on scene, identifies herself as a neighbor, and vouches for Pastor Jennings.
He lives right there, and he would be watering their flowers. This is probably my fault.
She says she is the one who made the initial call to police.
Okay. So now we get to this point. They put him in handcuffs. This is something that police officers just do. I don't necessarily agree with it because why are you putting the man in handcuffs? I do think the pastor should have been a little more cooperative. They're just trying to find out what's going on. Why were they called out? And one officer said he don't know who called. But then the lady came over. She identifies herself. She said, this is probably my fault. Of course it was your fault. Here's my thing here. He's watering flowers. Now, if she didn't know, obviously he lives across the street from her as well. If she would have known that it was the pastor, she may not have called the police. But did she call because this man was a black man watering these flowers? That's what it seems like to me. She identifies herself. She even identified that I'm the one that called because she said, this is probably my fault. But the man told her, the pastor told the police, I live right there across the street. I'm just watering my neighbor flowers. That to me should have been good enough. It was not. So the problem that I have here is that they did not believe him, but they believed the woman when she vouched. She could have been lying. She could have said that maybe this is not him, but they believe what she said opposed to believing what he said. But let's just continue to take a look here.
So you called not because of the car, but because you thought you saw someone beside you.
Right, I didn't know it was him.
Yeah, I gotta keep their flowers watered. I gotta keep their flowers watered while they're down. You okay?
Jennings spoke to GMA about the ordeal.
It was kind of surreal at that moment because I'm wondering, why is this happening? I was thinking if I did something wrong or resisted, that I could have been shot. So I was trying to cooperate even though I didn't understand what was going on. I was agitated. I was angry, but I knew to comply.
The 56-year-old maintains this was a case of racial profiling.
You racial profile?
We're not racial profiling. No, sir. No, sir. We're not about
I
that.
told you I was here watering the flowers.
How do I know that's the truth?
I had the water hose in my hand.
Throughout the video, police can be heard suggesting that the situation might have been different if Jennings had provided identification.
It doesn't matter if pastor or if he's a pastor or not. Like, reasonable guy. Just talk to us.
Alabama law allows police to ask someone for identification in a public place if they reasonably suspect that person of committing a crime.
To be shackled and to have your freedom.
Okay, so we see they just said that Alabama allows for them to ask for identification if they are in a public place and there is a suspicion that a crime has been committed. So the pastor Jennings was correct. He did not have to show identification because he was on private property. It was not a public place. So when they asked for identification, some people would have given it to them, but he was well within his rights not to show them identification because he wasn't committing any crime. He was simply watering flowers. Now, was this racial profiling from the police standpoint? No, it was not. They're simply responding to a phone call. It was probably racial profiling from the neighbor's standpoint. Then once she saw that it was who he was not a stranger, but it was Pastor Jennings, then she seemed to be more appreciative. But at the same time, it also seemed at this point, Pastor Jennings calmed down himself. But the other issue that I have here, and I'm not going to get into that part of the video, but they handcuffed him, put him in a car. The police officers could have let the man go at this point. They realized the lady made a mistake. She admitted to making a mistake, but then they went on and arrested him anyway. His wife came across the street with his identification that he did not have on him to show them, but they still arrested the Pastor Jennings anyway, booked him, took him downtown, wherever they would take him, and they arrested him. The charges was later dropped, and now the Pastor Jennings have a lawsuit against the city. So even though, to me in the clip, the police officers were calm, one of the officers, I can see that he was agitated, but the younger man seemed like he was calm, said, listen, I was trying to find out what was going on, but on that end, it seemed like that they went overboard because this man should not have been handcuffed and arrested. The police officer did say later on in the clip that they could not unarrest him. He was not charged with a crime. So I don't know, you detained him, but you should never have booked him in, and they gave him several tickets. It was all dropped later on. So when I'm looking at this video, so it just tells me what was the proper thing to do in a situation like this. If it was me in the situation, I would have told them what I was there for. If I did not have to legally show my identification, I would not. Because police officers are notorious. They just want to run your information just to see if you have something on you. And so if you volunteer to do it, that's you. If I knew that I was well within my legal rights not to show identification, then I'm just not going to show identification because I've done nothing for you to ask me for identification. I've been in a situation like that before where I said, well, I haven't done anything for you to even ask me for identification. You just want to run me. I have family members and good friends that are and were police officers. So I kind of understand what my legal rights in those situations are. But I think on all sides, it should have been handled differently. I think from the get-go, Pastor Jennings should have been a little more cooperative. If you have identification, yeah, I probably would have just gave it to him. Just here's my identification. Let me continue to water their flowers while you run it. You ain't gonna find anything, so we can continue to move on. And the neighbor, she should have maybe minded her own business. She didn't see nobody breaking into no houses, busting in any windows or anything like that. She the one that actually started it. She should have just minded her business. But overall, I think the police acted in a civil way. They went overboard by actually arresting the man for what he did. So, you know, this is what we dealing with the law enforcement today. So, but it makes it different. I tell some of my white friends that I have, I say it makes it different because you're white. You don't know what it's like to be harassed by the police, because a lot of times you guys just don't get harassed. Or I've had police officers pull me over and just come off with an attitude. But I know because I'm a Christian, I understand, you know, I should start showing love and kindness. Yes, sir, officer, what's going on? And I'm going to say what I have to say, but you know, the aggression just does not have to be there in every case. So it's something that people can learn, police officers can learn, and so we can all grow and work together. They have a dangerous job to do, and I appreciate the men and women in law enforcement. It's not a job that I would do. They get a lot of bad publicity for what they have going on. So, but, you know, I think that if you take a look at it, it's just something to look at from all angles to see what could we do better. All right, that's all I have for this video. Till the next time, remember to subscribe to the channel, like the video, leave your comments below. Tell me what you think about it. Till next time, God bless.